So nice to meet you, everyone. My name is Felix Lepoutre, and so I'm the first speaker tonight. So the meetup must be in English, but I'm totally French, but I will do my best anyway. I would like to start by saying thank you to Sébastien for inviting me and Algolia. I was not sure to say yes when you asked me because two reasons. The first one is that I don't have that much experience on the meetup topic, so it's not always easy. And the second one is because it's called a Dribbble meetup, and honestly, I don't use Dribbble at all. So it was a bit weird to me. But Sébastien was like, come on, no big deal. We need speakers. So here I am, and I'm very happy. So thank you again. And I don't know why it's called Dribbble meetup, by the way, but anyway. So the topic is how to collaborate with developers and create a design team. Good one. Sorry for those who came for the second part because I won't talk about this. I never built a design team from scratch. So, and even if I'm currently doing it at Lydia, the company I work for, I don't have enough stories to tell you, so I skipped this part. And about the first one, instead of collaboration, I would like to talk about the relationship. So right now it looks like I destroyed a bit the meetup topic, but actually not that much. Relationship and collaboration are pretty close, but in my vision is that to have a good collaboration, you first need a good relationship. So a first relationship is first required to then set up a good collaboration. And by relationship, I mean the interrelation with the developers, the emotions, how you can provoke positive feelings in your team. Instead of collaboration is more about the tools and the process. And I could have read a lot of Medium articles about collaboration. There is like a ton of articles, so I could have read every article and show a best of here. But it would have been impersonal, and I think I don't know what is the best tool or the best process. So I decided to focus my talk on my own experience and my own stories at my company with my developers. So quickly, my name is Felix Lepoutre. I'm a product designer, and I mostly designed mobile apps, so I have the most interacted with iOS and Android engineer. I'm in love with UX design, product, mobile. I also in love with digital photography and with the Strasbourg-Saint-Denis neighborhood. You can find me anytime at Morissette's. And I work for Lydia, so I joined the company more than 3 years ago now. So at this time, it was my first full-time job, and it was about 2 developers when I joined the company. And when I joined the company, it was about 25,000 users. And yesterday, we celebrate our 1 million users. So it was a great day, a lot of champagne. And so yes, from 25,000 to 1 million, it's been great to me to leave the growth and be part of the company. And I work with different tech team size, from 2 developers to almost 10. So I learned a lot about process and how to take care of each developers. And I guess you know Lydia. Who is using Lydia? Yes? Oh, cool. So almost everyone. I will be short, but so Lydia is an easy app to send money to your friends or your family. We are famous for the feature that lets you send money to your friends and your family. But we also do a lot of things, so I will take a minute to talk about Lydia. So you can do, for example, set a recurring transaction. If you send the same amount to the same person every month for Netflix, for example, you can set up a recurring transaction. You can create virtual cards that lets you pay online more securely. You can use Apple Pay as well. You can also see all your bank account balance on the same screen by connecting your bank. You can do transfer between your own bank accounts. You can order a plastic MasterCard to pay everywhere with Lydia. So we do a lot of things, not peer-to-peer payments. So one of my daily challenge at Lydia is to put all these features face-to-face with you, with the user, without impacting the app you like today, I like today. So I will start to tell you some stories about attitude and behavior I had at Lydia that was very helpful to have a good relationship with developers. And that good relationship was allow us to set up a good collaboration. So first, I would like to talk about our open space configuration. I think it matters a lot when we talk about relationship. So here I am, and Blue Tots are developer. So I'm developer all around me, which is pretty cool. And so here is the mobile team, so iOS, Android, and here is the backend team. Oops. And oh no, shit. Okay. So backend team, and the cool things about this configuration is that the mobile team was constantly able to see what I'm working on, what I'm focused on, and so they have a direct view of what's next for the company. And even the backend team, by walking back from their break, they can see my screen. They are like, oh cool, a new security screen is coming, and they keep going. So, but this is our past configuration, and we moved our desk for space optimization. So the mobile team was not able anymore to see my screen. And I remember feeling some frustration from them about this. And everything became secret between us and I. And it was kind of sad because I remember we had a lot of conversation about what I was doing in my daily life at Lydia. And even if they know, of course they know what are the next massive feature from the company roadmap. But most of the time I'm not working on this feature. I'm on quick improvement, UX revamp, or some details that matters a lot. So it's important to make sure they know what you are working on. So I tried to find a solution for this. So I tried to print stuff on the wall. So it was cool because I could stick correction on it, like on Facebook correction. But honestly, it takes too much time, and UI doesn't look good on paper. And it's good for massive features, so it's pretty cool for like the whole company, the market team, the business team. So I did this one time, but I never did it again. So I'm still looking for a great solution to make sure all developers are aware about what is coming. I know some companies have TV when designer can send screenshots in real time, so everyone know what are the explorations, the new ideas. But it's very important to me because they could come to see you at lunch one day and tell you, oh, I saw you're working on this screen, check this app, it's pretty cool, and it's provoked a lot of conversation and discussion. And I would like to do a quick aside about the designer and developer ratio. It's a complex subject, but ours is 1 designer for 7 developers. Some people say 1 for 5 is good, and 1 for 10 is good. So I talk for peer-to-peer company, B2C company, because Algolia, you're B2B, and I know your ratio is more than this, I guess. But I mean, for a B2C company, 1 for 7 is pretty good, and when you reach 1 for 10, I think it's time to hire a designer because you won't be able to have an overview on everything your developer will ship. And I found this on TechCrunch, and it's pretty interesting to see how much big companies understood the value of designer in the past 5 years. Look at IBM, for example. 5 years ago, it was 1 for 72 designers, and today it's 1 for 8. So a lot of hiring. So this is totally ironic. I know it looks ridiculous, but I thought it was funny to use this kind of picture. I never used it, so I did it right now. So I would like to talk about involvement. So make sure you involve the developers in your process and in the product. And so sometimes we look like this. Not every time, but sometimes, by the fact that for example, because we don't have product managers at Lydia, so there is no intermediary between us and I. So we are facing each other every day. We have a lot of conversation between developers and I. So we are very close to each other. So that helps to have a good relationship, and it's easy for me to involve them in the product. And so what is cool for me is I can involve the developer at any step of the features project. Sometimes it's at the end when everything is ready and everything is well designed. But most of the time I prefer to involve the developers at a very early stage because I think they are very good at UX and more than we can think because they know the logic. So one day I had to work on a classic feature, an easy feature actually. So on Lydia you have transaction and it's ordered by months. And the idea was to offer a settings that lets user order the transaction by week and not by months. And when I start working on it, I said, okay, I stopped right now and I asked all the mobile team, not the backend because we don't need services for this, so just the mobile team, and we went to a meeting room and I said, okay, we have 20 minutes to think about this feature, we will do it together and we will think about the product specs, how it looks, and when we leave the meeting, I would like you are able to develop it and I want to test it the same day. And it was the first time I did it, and it was very appreciated by the developers, by the tech team, because they feel very involved in the product, and it's a good opportunity for them to give them a voice on the product. They are not just there to code what I do. So it's a good exercise I recommend. And so yes, I try to involve developers as much as possible in the product. And sometimes I even go further. It's not about product, so we don't do the product together, but I give them a total liberty on the design, some visual design aspects. So it could be risky sometimes. But for example, this is our security screen when you do a payment. So this is state number 1 when you didn't hit the digit yet, and here when you hit the digit. And I say to the developer, okay, you are free to do whatever you want for the animation around the dots, and do whatever you want. And the developer came back to me 20 minutes later with something actually very great. So a pop-up animation around the dots when you hit the digit. It was smooth, light enough. And so the result is that I saved time. I could have spent 1 hour on After Effects working on a cool animation. But so I saved time, and the developer was actually very proud of him because it's a screen that appears in the app a lot of times. So he's like, okay, this is my stuff. It's pretty cool. So it's good. It's also good for the creativity, for the keep them involved in the creativity. But as I said, there is some risk. Sometimes they go too much, and when they know how to do something, they want to do as much as possible. So it could be too much and gross. And the risk is that most of the time I have to say, no, sorry, we can't do this. So it could create frustration, and frustration is really bad for the relationship. And one day, I remember it was 2 years ago, a developer was so proud of what he did about the pop-up animation. He was so proud that I couldn't say no. So it stayed in the app for 1 year until another developer arrives at Lydia. So there is some risk, but it's a good exercise for their creativity. And so about frustration, I would like to talk about empathy as well. So empathy is about understanding the emotion and the emotion of others. So you can act differently later. So this could be us sometimes as well. And to avoid this situation, I have one very important rule, is that I make sure that every developer are aware that what they are doing right now won't probably not exist anymore in the app in the next 6 months. Because we are a startup, so we are iterating a lot of things. We are testing many things, and sometimes we are even iterating on things that actually works. So it could be hard for them to work hard on something that disappears the next month. So for example, this is a screen when you do a payment. This is the last step. To confirm the payment, you can add a description. So this was the screen on January. So we did this one, and we are working on this one. We will probably ship this one next week, so it's a teasing for you right now. It's pretty cool. I'm cool. I'm very happy. So it's coming. So yeah, you have to make sure they're aware about this, otherwise it will create frustration. And same for us, I guess, as designers. Sometimes I'm very frustrated when my manager asks me to remove something I was really proud of. But you have to keep distance with it. And I remember reading somewhere, don't fall in love with your design. And last thing is about the interest. So it's important to involve the developer in the product, but as a designer, you also have to show your interest in what they do and care about the technology they use and understand the role of each other's. For example, I remember when I did an internship 4 years ago, a developer offered me a meeting about 1 hour, and it took time to explain me how a mobile app works, server, local, and when he explained me this, it was very helpful for me to create better product after and to be more legitimate in front of the developers because I know how it works. So it's very important for us as designers to make sure you understand how it works. And to show your interest, there is like easy things like asking why every time when a developer say no for something. Sometimes by asking why they will realize that it's actually possible. So it's good. Or sometimes, or you will learn that it's not possible. So you will learn for the next time. You can see listening conversation as much as possible. So avoid listening music. So it's what I try in the open space because you understand the issue. And knowing your developer's background as well is pretty important. When you have to, as a designer, you have to adapt your expectation depending the developers. And this is something I learned not that much long time ago, but 3 years ago I put this image with all the interface of Lydia, but I created this new navigation, so I destroyed the iOS guidelines. That was the navbar, the bottom navbar, and I decided to do this with a swipe, so pretty cool, but I asked to a junior developer, and it took 6 months to do this thing, so I should have cared about his experience first. And about the interest, still about the interest, I'm a designer who is using an iPhone, and I always use an iPhone, so I'm much more closer to the iOS team than the Android team, and it could be very bad for the whole relationship in the office. And naturally, I'm closer because I have better knowledge of Apple systems, so we have discussion about new features, about Apple guidelines, keynote. We are closer because I designed first on iOS to see my screen on my iPhone, and sometimes I don't even have the time to design the mock on Android, so this is the worst for the relationship. And I provide naturally much more feedback for the iOS app because I use Lydia in my daily life, so I use it to pay back my friend, so I can see little details that needs to be updated, and I use it to pay my grocery at Franprix, so I have every context in my daily life. So I provide much more feedback. So my fake image is back. So the Android developer is sad. So I had to find a solution. So I changed my OS. So I use an Android since 3 months now. And it's pretty cool actually. So I'm very happy because first of all, I improved my skills about the Android guidelines. I know how famous apps works with Android guidelines, so I learned a lot. The Android app improved a lot because I provide much more feedbacks to the developer, and I have a better relationship with the Android developer naturally, and also with other iOS team because by doing this move, by changing my OS, I show that I care about all operating systems. That was appreciated by the whole team. So my plan is, I don't know if I will try. I don't know what will happen, but to switch my device operating system every 6 months to care about everyone. So to conclude, I would like to say, can you take a picture, please? So this is the Michael, our Android developer, the guys we were sad just before. To conclude, I would say it's mainly about everything starts by hiring the good people actually. So by considering the feelings before the skills. So when you see this guy, you want to work with him for sure. And I remember my Antoine, one of the Lydia co-founder, say us to the tech team, so mobile team and product team and backend team. Okay guys, it's getting crowded here. We are almost 10. Let's please only hire people with whom you will be okay to go for a 10 hours mountain hike. And I think it says everything about hiring people. At least to have a good relationship. So that's it. Thank you very much for your attention. And I know my context is easier for me because I work with passionate developers, so it's not the case for everyone, and maybe with the best. So it helps a lot. But I'm still convinced that everything I show here did help to have a better relationship altogether. Thanks. Combien de temps?
Maybe some of you got questions for him? No? Okay. Oh, yes.
A magic box.
Hello. So you talk about the internet that had to build the navigation on iOS, and it took it 6 months to build it. And why, during the conversation you had with him about the feature, he didn't even tell you that he wasn't experienced enough to work on this?
No, because when you ask something to a developer, I guess you want to do everything to do it. And when he starts something, I think he's ready to do everything to accomplish the mission. And I think it's same for a designer. We are passionate, so when you ask something to a developer, it's hard to say stop after that. And actually, when we start this navigation, it goes very well at first. I could test the app very quickly, like 2 weeks after, but we realized like it was very hard to implement everything in the navigation after that. But it was too late.
Okay, thank you.